Welcome, everybody, to the Birds of the Roundtable. It's Tuesday evening. Where else would you be? Welcome in, everybody. Of course, I am joined, as I always am, by the three smartest men in the room. First, we'll go with Dibes. Dibes, how are you tonight? How you feeling? Ready to talk a little combine tonight?
Yeah, man, it's kind of a bittersweet kind of show because I love the combine so much. It's like Eagles season. You prep so much for it, and it's one of those things that like you're so excited when it's here, but you're also so happy when it's gone because it's exhausting. I probably put out like 30 plus videos the last 72 hours, so I'm glad it's over. But we're going to be talking about it tonight.
Yeah, you have actually been putting in quite the long hours, that's for sure. Please make sure that you check out Dives on X and, of course, at the Edge of Philly Sports YouTube. Next up, we have David. David, what's going on, buddy? How was your combine week, and are you ready to discuss some winners and losers?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Almost everybody I was hoping would do well did well. There's a couple people who surprised and didn't quite show off as much, and we'll get into that. But yeah, for the most part, I was pretty impressed with almost all of the people that I was looking forward to watching. So, and I think it fares well for the Eagles. A lot of the positional needs that they have, it's a really strong class. So it should be a fun draft. The next few weeks should just be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend. It is Shane Half. Shane, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good. Update from last week. There's no longer a hole in the side of my house. So that's great. I could turn the heater back on, but a new hole is going in the side of my house tomorrow. So we're kind of back to square one tomorrow. But for tonight, for this brief moment in time, we're great. And then tomorrow I have to move into my son's room because the hole is coming into my room. So, it'll be great. But I'm ready to talk about the combine and not hear jackhammers outside.
Yeah, listen, the dedication by everyone here, holes in their house, working for 72 straight hours. David's probably put out about 300 articles about the combine so far. There's a lot of great follows here. Please make sure you're following everybody on X. But let's get into it. We're going to be talking about the combine. Now, obviously, the city of Philadelphia is still mourning a day after what was one of the saddest days that we can all remember with Jason Kelce retiring. But unfortunately, we've had our time to shed our tears. We've had our time to, toughen back up. It's time to start talking some draft. So we're going to be talking about the combine, some winners, some losers, some surprises. And we're also going to be talking about some day 3 targets. So we're going to start right now with the top 3 winners. We're going to go around the board here. Dives, since I went with you first, I'll go with you first once again. Give us your top 3 winners from the scouting combine.
Leading off, no doubt, it's a guy that I've been gushing over for the last several months. It's not Jeremiah Trotter Jr. It's always been Edgerrin Cooper. This guy is a rising star in the making. He ran really well. I think it's criminal how low he is on some people's draft boards. To me, yeah, Peyton Wilson was terrific, but so is Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper, his 1.54 10-yard split time was tied for first among his group. 4.52 40-yard dash, second fastest among his group. 9-foot 10-inch broad jump, 34.5-inch vert. He had a 9.34 raw athletic score out of a possible 10. He compared himself to Fred Warner as a guy who is molding his game after. I mean, how do you not fall in love with this dude, man? Like, this guy had 17 tackles for loss in 2023, which ranked 5th among Power 5 players. 6'3", 230 pounds. He's a beast, man. This guy's a straight up dog. The Eagles need more dogs on this defense. He's got just that physicality, that length, that elite speed that you could just immediately pencil in this guy as my favorite guy at the top of the second round. Edgerrin Cooper, baby. That was my big one there. Leading into number 2, Xavier Legette, man. This guy is an absolute monster. Xavier Legette, 4.39 at 6'1", 220 pounds. Just ridiculous. 40-inch vertical jump. Second best in his group. Just a ridiculous athlete. A raw athletic score of 9.92. That placed him 24th among receivers in the RAS system since 1987. He caught the ball really well. Another guy that I think is way too low on a lot of people's draft boards. Pro Football Focus has him as the 10th best wide receiver. That's darn right disrespectful, man. He's got a great combination of size and explosiveness. He's strong. He's got a physical frame. He's absolutely elite in yards after the catch situations. And I just think he has crazy upside. I think he has the upside of a true number 1 receiver at the next level. And if you get this guy in a Kellen Moore system where you get this guy in space, get this guy in pre-snap motion, watch the F out, because this guy is a star in the making. Last up, not among my biggest 3 winners here. Number 3 is Byron Murphy, man. Byron Murphy is the guy coming in here into this thing. I wasn't that high on. Let me say, I was high on him, but I didn't see him as a first-round pick like many did. Man, do I look foolish, because he had a 4.88 in the 40-yard dash. He had a 33-inch vertical jump. That was second best among defensive tackles. His 1.69 second 10-yard split time ranked 4th best among defensive tackles. And per Next Gen Stats, he had the second best of any defensive tackle athleticism score of 86. So when you watch this guy on tape, man, this guy has a lot of fluidity. He has really quick feet. He plays with violence, elite explosiveness off the line. One of the strongest dudes in this entire draft. I had a day 2 grade on him, but after this weekend, you can pencil this guy in as a first rounder. Those are my top 3 winners.
Yeah, those are 3 really, really good ones. Cooper, certainly me being a humongous fan of linebackers, is one of my favorites for sure. Let's move around the circle here and go right to David. David, what 3 winners are you going to talk to us about?
And the first one is running back Jalen Wright. I think a lot of people did not have him as their first running back on the board, but he really was impressive at the combine. He became the first running back to reach 15 miles per hour within the first 5 yards of the 40-yard dash over the last 2 combines. He ran an impressive 4.38 40, and he followed that up with an amazing 11-foot 2-inch broad jump, which was good for the second longest by a running back in combine history. He is a human joystick, man. He boasts a 31% missed tackle rate while also averaging 4.4 yards per carry after contact, which is also best in class. In a league where big plays have become so important to most offenses, Jalen displays a big play ability similarly to Brian Westbrook, and he proved that by leading his class with a 26% explosive rush rate. If he wasn't on the team's radar as one of the top 75 players in the draft prior to the combine, he definitely is now. So I was really excited for him because he's the guy I've been really high on. Next, I went with Kamari Lassiter, who has become a player that I am slowly talking myself into as a first-round pick for the Eagles, especially if they're going to trade down and try to pick up another selection, like move down to like 29th or something with Detroit. Many thought Lassiter was the most fluid corner in his class before the combine, and he proved them all right in Indy. He showcased his smooth backpedal and breaking abilities during the drills, and his 6.62 time in the 3-cone drill was the best in class. Kamari's a guy who I think would be ready to play the slot for the Eagles in week 1 if they drafted him, and then he can eventually move outside a year or 2 later when Slay is done and take over in the outside position as well. His versatility, coupled with that fantastic showing at the combine, has him on a lot of first-round draft boards now. And lastly, I went with the big guy, Braden Fisk. He really showed off at the Senior Bowl, and he followed up that performance with yet another dominating thing that dominating run at the NFL Combine. For a man his size, he ran a ridiculous 4.78 40, and he knew how good it was, just as everybody in the stands did, because you could hear him yelling, "Oh yeah," when he crossed the line. The big guy was happy. The speed that he ran is in the top 97 percentile. His 9-foot 9-inch broad is in the top 96%. And he also had an amazing 4.37 short shuttle. And just for context, that slightly edged out Aaron Donald's 4.39. Simply put, Braden just showed off in Indy, man. He probably made himself a whole lot of extra money by moving up a few draft boards as well.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes. No, I absolutely loved what Braden Fisk has done in this, NFL draft kind of, the off season, so to speak. He has absolutely risen multiple rounds for sure. All right. Last but not least, let's go with Shane. Shane, give us your 3 winners from the Scouting Combine.
All right. My first guy is cornerback Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. To be honest, he started flying up boards at the Senior Bowl. There were questions about the level of competition, but he dominated the Senior Bowl. He dominated the Combine. Overall, he has a 9.75 relative athletic score, which if you're unsure what that is, go to ras.football.com. You can look up the total composite athletic score for any athlete or any football player, I should say, since 1987, I think it is. It basically just like weighs out your height, your agilities, all that stuff, and it condenses it to one score on a 10-point scale. And I just learned this, actually, and I feel silly that I've used this for years and didn't realize it, but that 9.75 basically means he's 97th percentile as an athlete at cornerback. He ran a 4.33 40, had a 38-inch vertical jump, the second fastest 40 time at the Combine for among cornerbacks. And so Quinyon Mitchell, he's had a meteoric rise throughout the pre-draft process, and I think there's possibility he's the first cornerback off the board. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be out of the Eagles' range at 22, but he's my first winner of the Combine. My second winner is Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas, simply because if you break a Combine record, you get mentioned as a winner. He ran a 4.21 40, which broke John Ross's record of 4.22. He had a 41-inch vertical jump with a 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump. All that played out to a 9.37 relative athletic score, which is 93rd percentile. Now he's tiny, and we'll see, where he ends up. Ultimately, does a 4.21 versus a 4.29 matter? Probably not. But it's cool, and so we're going to talk about it, and it definitely probably moves him up some draft boards. And then my last guy is interior offensive lineman Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State. He's going to play guard in the NFL, and he's been one of the best guards in the country, I think, who got far too little credit for a long time. Like, I was routinely drafting him in the 4th round of mock drafts, despite the fact that, and this using PFF Simulator, I was catching him in the 4th round, despite the fact that per PFF's grading, he's got the highest offensive guard pass block grade since 2020 and 2022, and the 7th highest run block grade. And yet PFF had him down that low. He had a 9.71 RAS score. He ran a 5.03 40, which is 92nd percentile for an offensive guard. He had a 4.81 shuttle, a 7.44 3-cone. His broad jump was 9.1, which was 87th percentile. Like, he's been a riser. He's probably going to be a 2nd-round pick. It's nice to see him. It's nice to know I'm not crazy, because I thought he was really good for a couple years watching him in the Big 12. I think he's probably going to be in that 2nd-round pick range come April.
Nice. Yeah, no, those are 3 really great ones, Shane. Just off the cuff, for me, I'll quickly go with my 3 winners. I'll go with Penn State Chop Robinson. I thought he had a really great combine. Ran a 4.48, which I believe was the 5th best since 2003 for any pass rusher weighing over 250 pounds. He really does seem to kind of, be explosive, rapid burst through some of these other combine events. But he really just kind of gave, kind of credit to his round 1 grade that many are giving him. Another one I'll say really quickly is a guy who I've certainly been following since before the Senior Bowl, and that's linebacker Peyton Willis out of North Carolina State. This is a guy that came into the combine and was unfortunately didn't actually play, but the week leading up really kind of showed out. He notched the best 40 time at 4.43 at the scouting combine. Looked super impressive in some of the positional drills. And the fact of the matter is he is the Bednarik Award winner, and really I think solidified himself as one of the top linebackers, maybe Cooper and then Peyton Willis. And then last one I'll say is cornerback out of Rutgers, and that's Max Melton. He ran a 4.39 40, which placed him in the tops of the cornerbacks. Broad jump of 11.4, vertical of 40.5 inches. Kind of really enforced that dynamic, athletic presence that he brings to the football field. And his kind of fluidity really was on display in some of the positional drills. I think he really solidified himself as a day 2 corner. So, yeah, absolutely watch out for him. So we all went and got ourselves 3 winners. So now it's time to talk about some losers.
Can I tag on one of Shane's players real quick?
Absolutely. What do we got?
Cooper would have been on my list, but I saw Shane took him before I could add him back this afternoon. He's another guy I'm really high on. I think he's arguably a top 50, top 60 player in the draft. And I saw earlier that the Eagles are hosting him this weekend on one of their top 30 visits. So they see a lot of value in him too. So I'm really excited about that. And another player Shane mentioned, Xavier Worthy. If you follow Deshaun Jackson on X, he was really, really thrilled with his run there at the combine. He was truly impressed by it. So I don't know how interested the Eagles are in Worthy, but they definitely have a lot of interest in Cooper.
For Cooper,
go ahead.
Graham Barton wasn't in the draft, Cooper would potentially be a first-round pick, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's an absolute baller, man.
Yeah, and that sounds silly to say, but it's just that the value of interior offensive line is often depressed when it comes to draft. You've already got Jackson Powers Johnson, who will be a first-round pick. Yeah. Barton is probably your fringe first-rounder, and so that's going to push Cooper down. But in a different year, I think Cooper could easily sneak into like a pick 31, 32, a 49ers pick. They need to shore up their interior line, stuff like that. So I think he's worthy of that. You say he's, probably a top 50 player. I think he's probably a top 25 to 30 player, but he's probably not going to go that high just because of positional value. Yeah, I tweeted about the offensive tackles and guards. It is just so deep this year that I suspect it's going to hurt the free agent class because there are just so many you can grab out there. I mean, people who you normally get in the second round, you have a chance to get in the third and fourth this year. It's just, and like you just described, Cooper's a likely first-round pick in most years, but in this year, he's probably going to go around 40, 50 range. I mean, it's incredible value.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. We got a few comments. Oh, yeah, I was just about to do that, but yeah, go ahead.
Tanner Bortolini, a guard out of Wisconsin. Love the shout out there. He was on my video. Excellent athlete, and I think he's climbing up the boards. We'll talk about him very soon. Danny Savage is in the house saying Patrick Paul was a winner, 6'8", 331. So there's that. Jalen Simpson, safety out of Auburn, ridiculous athlete. We've been talking about him on the channel quite a bit. And then Cody chimes in saying the Kelsey brothers are the shit. Facts.
Can I drop a theory about Jason Kelsey real quick?
Yeah, man.
So if you guys haven't seen it, I'm sure you guys have, but our viewers, you see the video online of him jumping through a table that was on fire. Now, all I'm saying is all the talk about retiring was so he would be healthy, he could enjoy life with his kids. Football's really hard on his body. I'm just saying, this is Jason Kelsey on day one of retirement, jumping through a table on fire. I feel like he's trying to convince Kylie that football is less dangerous to his health than retirement, so she'll let him come back for another year. That's just my harebrained idea here.
I like it.
You think maybe he'll take a year off? She'll just be sick of him and tell him to go back to work.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Absolutely classic. Martian Lynch chimes in, as long as Howie drafts Edgerrin Cooper, I'm good, dude. I am more than good when that happens. My God, I'm gonna be jumping for joy when that happens. So, all right. So, unless anybody has anything to say about the winners throughout the what we just said, let's move on to some of them losers. We'll start with David. David, who was your biggest loser from the scouting combine?
All right, I'm just going to say I was slightly disappointed by him instead of calling him a loser.
Stock down.
Yeah, stock down. Cameron Kinchins, and man, he entered the combine with the chance to establish himself as the top safety in the draft, but that didn't happen, man. He ran a 4.65 40-yard dash, which was tied for the slowest amongst the safeties. He was also last in the broad jump, and that relative athletic score that Shane's been talking about, he posted a 2.11. It was a really bad showing. I still think he's a very good player, but this likely cost him some money, and probably I think he is safely out of the first round discussion at this point.
Yeah, it's funny the fact that, you know, when I first saw that score for him, I questioned it. I was like, wait a minute, I've seen him play. I've seen some of the plays he has made. You don't, you know, somebody like Bo Allen, former Eagle, that's somebody who has a 2.8 RAS score. Not Cameron Kitchens, but yeah, listen, he definitely did not do himself any favors. And listen, hey, maybe that works out for the Eagles, and we could safely draft him in that second round. And
yeah, I think it's going to work out for some team. I mean, he is nowhere near as bad on tape as he showed at the combine, but
yeah,
but nonetheless, it does cost people money when they show out like that. It's
sure does
a problem.
Sure does. All right, Shane. Real quick, Martian Lynch. I keep wanting to say Marshawn. I always thought Newman was the better prospect than Kitchens. Yeah, listen, a lot of people kind of had him 1A, 1B. I really do like Newman out of Minnesota. Obviously, now he kind of becomes the number one.
I like Bullard as much as them as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Marshawn, I thought Marshawn Lloyd was a huge winner.
Oh yeah,
this weekend. Great size, great speed, in a running back class that really doesn't have a true number one. It depends on how high you are on Trey Benson, I guess. But I thought Marshawn Lloyd had a terrific weekend, probably going from day 3 to day 2.
Yeah. Marshawn Lynch probably had a good weekend too. Had a bag of Skittles, watched the combine.
By
the way, I feel like if your YouTube name is Martian Lynch, the only thing you should say in chat is "I'm just here so I don't get fined." Like, right. I feel like you should just keep copy pasting that into chat. But
speaking of Martian Lynch, imagine if Howie drafts Newman and Cooper. Yeah, listen, I don't know the percentage.
We don't. Howie doesn't draft linebackers or safeties, so just baby step it to drafting one. Like, just get one, and I'll be happy.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. I have been gushing over Kalen Bullock this weekend as that center fielder to kind of go along with Sidney Brown. If you don't know Kalen Bullock, go check him out, man. Another guy who tested really well, big time ball hawk, can play deep. Check out Kalen Bullock, man. He was.
We won't talk before legal tampering starts next week. So I'm just going to say I think the Eagles might have already signed a free agent safety by the time we talk next week.
Snap!
Okay. Snap. All right. Well, yeah. Listen, Bullock was a guy who came into the season really high, didn't have the greatest on paper. USC obviously didn't live up to any of the hype. So his kind of stock dropped, but I'm glad he's starting to rise back up and to where he belongs rightfully. So, all right, moving along. Shane, who is your loser or stock down or had a bad
Looking forward
day?
to this.
I'm comfortable using the term loser. My loser is the NFL Combine itself. I pulled a Dibes. I didn't give a player, but you look at this weekend. Caleb Williams opts out of medical testing. The medical testing, like people will tell you the most important thing that happens is the medical test. He opted out of the medical testing, saying that, quote, not all 32 teams can draft me, so I give all 32 teams my personal medical things. Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't work out in Indy, and it's not because he pulled a Bryce Young and gained weight for a weigh-in that he needs to lose before a pro day, and then he'll run. We see that a lot, which already kind of invalidates a lot of the combine results, but he's just not going to do it. Like he's not interested in training for a 40. He said he's going to train for football stuff. He also no-showed his media session when he was supposed to be available to the media. That's two guys at highly visible positions who will both be top 5 picks, just not working out. We're not doing it. We're not participating. They were joined by Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brock Bowers, who also did not work out. And so that's the top 5 guys on consensus big boards. And then QB3, who's number 11 overall on consensus big boards. Like conceivably, the top 6 picks in the draft did not participate in the combine. You had it breaking that the agency Athletes First told all of its prospects not to participate in any cognition tests after the CJ Stroud debacle last year, which clearly that test was flawed because we all saw what CJ Stroud just did. I love also that the agency that came up with that cognition test was like, oh yeah, that was never actually the right results anyways after CJ Stroud lit the world on fire. But the NFL keeps, they advertise this as 50 hours of live coverage this year for the combine. And the star players at the star positions, the people guys want to see, they're not participating. 3 head coaches skipped the combine this year. Robert Saleh, whose job is on the line, didn't go to the combine. Mike McCarthy, whose job is on the line, didn't go to the combine. And Sean McVay, who never goes to the combine. But you've got head coaches starting to not go. You've got the best of the best. The star power is not participating. The NFL is trying to squeeze every possible dollar out of the offseason, and the combine is struggling to stay afloat. And so my big loser for the weekend is the combine itself, and it's because of the way the athletes, and I'm not saying I fault them any stretch of the imagination. A lot of it is kind of silly hoops you jump through. They're just saying, hey, the tape's out there. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. That's a good point. They need to figure out something to make it make these kids want to participate. And again, for those who come into it already knowing that they're a top 5, top 10 pick, it's like, all right, like, you know what I mean? I'm already gonna make millions. All I can do is hurt myself. Mm-hmm. Whether it be by getting hurt physically, which some have, or have a Cameron Kitchens kind of day and have their draft stock drop. So I don't blame them, but they need to figure something out because it's going to catch on basically.
And I feel like the reason it's still here, even though we have data like GPS trackers that can tell us how fast guys move on the field playing actual football, is because you don't have like years of data to check it against. And these teams are old school. They've got their thresholds. We want a guy that runs this time, hits this on the broad jump, whatever. But you do feel like the GPS, the analytically sound teams are going to start relying on that GPS data, I would think, a lot more than a 40-yard dash at a combine.
Yeah, you're probably right on that one. All right, Dives, who is your loser of the combine?
Yeah, for me, sorry if you're a Penn State fan, but the fall of Kalen King continues in this one big time. He ran the second slowest 40-yard dash of any corner at 4.61. He had the 4th shortest broad jump at 10'2", Pretty good vertical, 37 inches, and a 20-yard shuttle at 4.16. But yeah, this stretch of like the last few months has been brutal for Kalen Kingman. You look at his up and down season, you look at the poor measurements, you look at the awful Senior Bowl week. This guy went from day one, maybe number one cornerback in the draft, to day 3 to undrafted free agent. So Kalen Kingman, sorry.
Yeah, he's had a bad few weeks. That is for sure. And for my draft loser, I'm going to go with a guy that, again, I think maybe I had high hopes for, and that is edge from Washington. That's Braylon Trice. I thought, he had a potential to be a first-round guy to kind of mix it in with some of the top names on the edge. He came into the combine weighing about 245, which is 30 down from what he was listed at the last point at Washington. And yet he still only ran kind of a very average 4.72 for him. And he just kind of seemed out of place in some of the positional drills and not necessarily focused. And it seems like the talent is there on film, but man, he really could have solidified himself as a true number one draft pick. And honestly, I think he may have kicked himself to late day 2 at this point, given the lackluster effort at the combine. So that is my loser from the combine. So anybody else want to mention anybody before we move on? Somebody that may be disappointed or,
Is next our surprise player?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we can be surprised in a bad way too, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right.
Hey, surprise.
I'll save my.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Miss Chris does chime in. The kids should be compensated for the time and their effort if the NFL wants to make money off of their bodies. Yeah, that's certainly considering the NIL is rampant, and I heard figure that number one pick Caleb Williams already a millionaire off of NIL. So it's an easy thing to maybe give the kids some money.
There's a whole lot of players at Ohio State who are now as well.
Yeah, well, you're certainly right on that one. So, all right. Well, we will move on to now our biggest surprise from the scouting combine. And Shane, I will start with you this time. What do you got?
I'm gonna kind of circle back to my guys not participating and say Drake May not throwing. There's been a lot of whispers about Jaden Daniels closing the gap on Drake May, and now coming out of the combine, and I could have gone with this, but there's a lot of JJ McCarthy QB3 at dialogue as well. But with Caleb Williams opting out of everything, if you're Drake May, you don't have to go run because that's not going to be your strong suit, but he could have easily gone through drills that have very little correlation to football, throwing in shorts with no pass rushers to wide open receivers, and been by far the most talented arm on the field. And maybe you create that gap between yourself and Jaden Daniels if he threw too, or he doesn't throw and you're just out there and people love to get hyped about some guy throwing the ball 70 yards at the combine or just putting on a show. And I thought that would have been the perfect place for Drake May to do that. And so he didn't do that. And I think it might have been a missed opportunity for him. I mean, I can understand not wanting to run your 40 because that's not going to be your thing. You're pretty unlikely to hurt your draft stock as a pocket passer that's supposed to be the number 2 overall pick, throwing against air, and you're pretty unlikely to get hurt doing so well. So I thought it was again, I don't fault anybody for not doing it, but I was surprised that May didn't throw, and I thought he could have really solidified himself as QB2. And now I think there's variability in his range anywhere from 2 to 4.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Dives, what do you got? Biggest surprise.
All right. I'm going to go really off the cuff here. Guy named Garrett Greenfield. Anybody know who that is? He's you look at that first FCS guy dude to get drafted last year. That was Cody Mock in round 2. Garrett Greenfield is a really intriguing offensive tackle from South Dakota State. He had a really good combine. I had no idea who he was, but he seems to be climbing up the draft boards. If you're looking for a sleeper, Garrett Greenfield might be your guy. 38.5-inch vertical jump, number 1 in the class. He had a great Senior Bowl. That vertical jump he had was the highest ever by an offensive lineman. I remember freaking out about Blake Freeland last year. This year is Garrett Greenfield, who's blowing people away. He had his first attempt in the 40-yard dash was 5.3. His second attempt was 5.23. He had the 5th best broad jump. He has really good length, really quick feet. Just a guy that I think people should maybe start paying attention to as a day 2, round 3 tackle that could surprise a lot of people when he gets selected, and a lot of people don't know about Garrett Greenfield.
Nice. We shall see who is that first one off the board. David, who do you got for us? Biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise was Nate Wiggins. I often wondered why he wasn't more active in tackling when I was watching his games. And when he weighed in at 173, I think I got my answer. He was shockingly smaller than I thought he was. He has a similar build to Emmanuel Forbes of last year, but he is way less physical on tape. He draws the comparisons from a few scouts to Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. And again, to me, that isn't a top 15 player in the draft. And also, lastly, sadly, Wiggins got hurt while running the 40-yard dash and wasn't able to finish his workout. I had Nate as cornerback 3 going into the combine. I'm not sure this changes that, but for anybody who was on the fence with them, Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold likely have flown right by him.
Nice. Listen, I will say kind of maybe an obscure name to most. And I'm going to butcher his last name. He's a running back from Louisville who wasn't even, to be perfectly honest, kind of in my, my view, heading into the combine. But he certainly changed my mind. And that's Isaac Giorendo. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, sure. No, nobody will tell me I'm wrong. But this is a guy running back out of Louisville who ranked first among running backs with his RAS score. Ran a 4.33 40, 41.5 vertical and a 10.9 broad jump. And listen, he absolutely looked quick, nimble, fluid out there. And he is somebody that I added to my kind of list of somebody I wanted to dive into because, again, I didn't really know much about him. I obviously had kind of heard of him, but didn't really know much. So that's the kind of guy that just kind of, just came out of nowhere for me and somebody that I want to pay a little bit more attention to for sure. Running back whose name I will not pronounce again from Louis. Just for everyone else's sake. So there you have it. There is some of our winners, some of our losers, and some of our biggest surprises from the NFL Scouting Combine from last week. We are going to move on, and we're going to talk about maybe some sleepers, some day 3 targets that kind of grabbed our attention here, and we're gonna go around the board again and talk about some guys that the common person probably hasn't heard of, but this is the time to kind of get familiar with some of these names for when it's Saturday and we're all sitting on our couch and we hear these names, something will click for us. So Dives, I'll start with you. Day 3 target that kind of grabbed your attention.
I like the Tanner Bortolini nod. That could be a guy that Could be a sleeper like top of day 3. He hit a top speed of 13.74 miles an hour. The only better time in his group was Joe Alt during the 5-yard split. So keep an eye on. I feel like anytime you get a Wisconsin guard, you're probably in good shape. Tanner Bortolini is a good one. Jared Wiley, a guy we've talked a lot about, a tight end, crazy athlete. He had the 3rd best vert among his peers, 9.76 raw athletic score, 6'7", 260 pounds. And speaking of ridiculous athlete, Theo Johnson out of Penn State, another tight end prospect, had a 10 out of 10 raw athletic score. A guy that's probably going to be a day 3 guy, big time developmental guy, but he had a 2nd best vert at 39.5 inches, 40-yard dash of 4.57. His legs are super long. He's got crazy length at 6'6", 250 pounds. And at the Senior Bowl, I thought he showcased some really nice separation. He's a lot more of a fluid mover than I thought he was. So keep an eye on that, dude. It's funny I brought up Kalen King, but Daquan Hardy might get drafted before him, which is insane. Another defensive back that really had a good weekend. Crazy athlete, 4.38 40-yard dash, 42.5-inch vertical. He's small. He is super small. Like he's like 5'8", but he could be that like nickel guy that might fill in the slot. Definitely has wiggle, and he's an elite special teamer. I think he had 2 touchdowns off returns. The last guy I want to bring up is Trevin Wallace. He might be drafted on day 2. He's kind of a fringe dude, but I think Trevin Wallace is terrific. I think in general the linebacker class was better than I thought it was. When they tested, but Trevin Wallace was a standout. He's only going to be 21 years old by the time of the draft. Plays with violence, really physical play style. He had really good numbers, and I think if he's sitting there day 3, I would love the Eagles to snag him up.
Yeah, no, that's those are some really, really good ones to keep your eye on for day 3 targets. Who knows? Could be potential Eagles targets as well. David, anybody to add to the impressive list that I've just spouted out for us?
Yeah, I had 3. One of them was Trevin Wallace. I agree with everything Dive said about him. The guy's an absolute beast, man. He's also a team captain, which is something the Eagles value very highly when they're going through the draft process. So, yeah, I actually have him as one of their targets for day 3 as well. He is somebody who could sneak into like the comp pick area of day 2, maybe, but I do like him a lot. One of my other 2 that I have left is running back. I think I'm pronouncing his name right, Dylan Lobby from New Hampshire. He's a really good running back, but he's also one of the best route runners in the running back class. He catches everything thrown his way. His ability as a receiving threat, coupled with his elusive running style, is just a very dangerous combination. He's extremely versatile. He had a game last year where he had 295 receiving yards. That would have been insane, huh? Off 295 receiving yards off of 12 receptions, which was a program record. He is pretty amazing. If the Eagles want somebody who has that kind of dynamic, he is the guy. And the other one who I'm really excited about is a guy from where I live in Virginia. He goes to Virginia State. He is cornerback. His name is Willie Drew. He's one of my favorite players that hardly anybody's heard of yet. He was on the field a lot during his career, but he will need a little coaching and a little patience for him to realize his full potential in the NFL. Howie likes to draft corners in the later rounds that have traits, and Willie has almost all of the ones that Howie looks for. He's fast. He tracks the ball well. He plays physical. He exudes confidence, and he's really strong versus the run, too. A year of development could catapult him into some sort of starting role on the team. If you haven't seen him, look him up. He plays really big.
Nice. Yeah, no, I can honestly say I've never heard of him, so I'll have to add him to my list. Shane, who do you got for us?
I'm going to go with a guy that you've actually already mentioned, and I think he's going to end up in day 2. I don't understand why he's as low as he is on boards. And it's Max Melton. I mean, he's barely inside the PFF top 100 at 99 overall.
Yeah.
He's 109 on Bleacher Report, 114 ranked by ESPN. He's 87th by Pro Football Network. I just don't get it. I think he's a good player. He had a 9.65 relative athletic score, ran a sub 4.40. I thought he had a strong Senior Bowl. He can play in. I think he's got inside out versatility, strong combat. I do not understand why he's ranked so low. It doesn't make sense to me. I think Max Melton should be a second round pick, but right now all these outlets are having him like fringe end of the third round or a day 3 pick, and I just don't get it. It's not the first time I haven't gotten it with the corner. I had a first round grade on Keely Ringo last year, and he fell to the 4th round, and I didn't get that either. I'm not that high on Max Melton, but I think he'd be a great pick for anybody anywhere on day 2.
Yeah, no, I really do like him too, and I think. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie, and many mock drafts I've grabbed him with the 97th, so
yeah,
I'll do that all day long for sure.
Can I add another corner real quick?
No.
Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky. I don't know if you guys have watched him, but he had a formal meeting with the Eagles. He's very versatile. He can play both nickel and outside. I think he's going to surprise where he ends up going in the draft. I definitely think he's, I don't know, top 150 guy, somewhere in that range. I don't keep ranking them after like 75 to 100, but they definitely have their eyes on him. He's very versatile, and he's another corner like Willie, who they like to take shots like from rounds 4 down on corners because they don't seem to draft them in the first round anymore. But I think he's a name to know because I think they're very high on him.
Nice. Very cool. I will add that obviously I had just mentioned one of my surprises, the running back from Louisville, Gurendo, or however the heck I'm going to pronounce it the next time I say it. Also wanted to add Frank Crum. He is an O-line from Wyoming. I think he tied for the second among O-line with a 4.94 40. And tied second for the vertical 169 broad jump 9.6 and 6th best 3-cone 7.39. I'll probably be in the probably sixth round, maybe 5th, somewhere in that range. And trying to think if there's anybody else I'm leaving out.
Can I ask you a question, Ryan? Where do you think Trotter is now? You had him at 50, and when you beat me in our little fake mock draft, so
let's just say I wouldn't take him with any of the second round picks.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't believe he'll be there at 97. So a trade up probably is required, but. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking after this past week, my Trotter dream, not that I already didn't know it, but may be officially dead. But that won't stop me though. I'll keep going until they tell me to stop on draft day.
I appreciate your dedication, man.
I try. Oh yeah. Listen, I wasn't gonna bring this up. But last week, for anybody who didn't watch our show last week, by the way, head on over after we go live and watch that show immediately if you have not. We did kind of a mock draft of the NFL draft where we each picked an offensive player and a defensive player from rounds 1, 2, and 3. We could select any round, say if somebody wanted to start in the 3rd. You just had to kind of went that way. But anyway, so we did each of us versus each other. Me versus David first. I wiped the floor with him. Shane versus Dives, and Shane annihilated Dives. And then, the big matchup, the national championship. And my goodness, I mean, it was just an absolute massacre. just slaughter it.
I got 65% of the votes on Twitter, and I
Yeah,
have long held
25
that Twitter users are just a cut above YouTube users. So,
well,
you know,
listen,
I'm more
should
active on Twitter than YouTube, so I'm assuming the people coming across it, I've just educated them better, and so, yeah. So, you know, you take your fake YouTube belt, and I'm gonna take my real Twitter crown.
Hey, listen.
It makes me so mad, man. I'm so competitive. I hate losing to these.
I know. To all of the wonderful Twitter users, and there are quite a bit tonight on our feed. We appreciate you. I'm sorry that your boy Shane got demolished. I will listen. You can follow me right here if you want to really follow a winner, right here. But no, seriously, we absolutely love these. I love competing against these guys. I do end up usually winning. I'm just saying. I know how to play.
I think I'm on Team Shane here. I won 80% to 20% on Twitter myself. I hate these rules. I don't
track well on Twitter, I guess. I don't know.
I had to set up a YouTube account just to see the votes this weekend. I didn't even have a YouTube account. It was pitiful.
Listen, I only have 3 YouTube accounts.
Because I had to like clear all of my cookies and stuff to get my computer reset, David. Sure. The first time I went to YouTube, it was to go subscribe to you. And now anytime I'm used to just typing like YOU and hitting enter, but now I automatically go to your specific YouTube channel instead of just the YouTube homepage. And it's
there's a lot of content to see, isn't there?
I'm going to need you to start posting a lot of stuff.
Can you please,
Ryan was my second follower. I appreciate that, Ryan.
That's right. That's right. Listen, we follow our own around here.
You got to build the brand from somewhere, man. You got to start somewhere.
Right. Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, guys. We appreciate everybody, especially everyone on Shane's Twitter tonight, because that's clearly been our bread and butter. But I'm sorry that your demigod and Shane lost. I will try to make it up to you in some fashion.
How many of those YouTube votes did you buy, Ryan? Spill it.
Listen, I'm broke. I can't afford anything. So
it's because you bought all the votes. I'm telling you.
Whatever helps you sleep in your non-hole in the wall house. But anyway,
heat helps.
Heat does help. But thank you guys. Honestly, everybody in the comments, everybody on Twitter, X, whatever we're officially still doing it. I got to get used to that. YouTube, Edge of Philly Sports. If you guys out there have not subscribed to the Edge of Philly Sports YouTube channel, please make sure that you do that. Just click subscribe, put on those automatic notifications, so that way every Tuesday at 8:00 you are right here with us, commenting in the chat along with us, because that's what makes these shows absolutely the best. So it's all about you guys. So we do appreciate all the love and the support. Real quick, I guess, before we get on out of here, why don't we say our final thoughts, any plugs, anything you just want to say, and eventually Shane will his apology for losing to his Twitter followers. So, but we'll save that for last. So, Dibes, you go right ahead.
Right there, if you want. But man, Combine Week was a blast. We're getting ready for pro days. We are just a little under 2 months, I guess, until draft day, which is crazy. We've been hitting, creating some free agency targets, some shorts and things like that. So go check that out. Some quick hitters on some big names for the Eagles. But yeah, next week, man, we'll be talking, I'm sure, free agency, and the off season is here, fellas. I feel like this one went pretty quick. So next week is going to be a lot of fun.
All right, there you go. Please make sure that you give Dibes a follow at Mr. Crockpot on X. If you want to get more involved in the draft, head on over to Edge of Philly Sports YouTube and check out all of this guy's videos. I might show up in one or two of them, but it's mostly him. But yeah, whatever. All right, David, what do you got? Final thoughts, plugs, whatever's on your mind, buddy.
I got a piece coming out tomorrow about Cam Jurgens and being the hand-appointed successor to Jason Kelsey. Also, to give you guys a shout out, Ryan, I saw you had a new show or something. I don't know how I even came across it. I was on YouTube trying to set up my account, and suddenly your head came on my screen, and I just hit play. I don't even know what it was, but it was an interesting hour.
David, it's okay. I've only been doing that show for about 4 years, but whatever.
Well, I finally saw it. It was very well done. So everyone watching should watch that. I look at everything Dodds puts out with all of the clips. He does a fantastic job with that. And it's Shane, I know everybody's following him, but if you didn't see his Eagles draft history with the relative athletic score graph that he did today, that was really cool. It really shows how gun-shy Howie Roseman has become since drafting Jalen Reagor in 2020. There is, I think it was 150 picks that he has gone with anybody who had a below 8 RAS score. Nobody. Kenny Gainwell's at pick 150, and he's the last person with an under 150 RAS score. I don't know. That graph is pretty telling. That's really good stuff. But another good week. I'm looking forward to talking about who the Eagles have already tampered and signed next Tuesday. This was Super Tuesday for the votes, but Super Tuesday next week is for free agency, man. That's the only one I care about. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely love it. Please make sure you do yourself a favor. Follow David at PHL Eagles News. Check out his articles. They will absolutely blow you away. So please make sure you do that. And last but not least, Shane, what do you want to tell your people?
Yeah, I was actually just going to mention the draft history and relative athletic score deal. David said this morning, he's like, he copy pasted like a graph that somebody did for the Packers. And he was like, we should look into that sometime. And I was like, I am bored this morning. Done. And so you can go check that out. I went back to, I think it was 2016, and I just mapped the overall selection for every draft pick the Eagles have made since 2016 and the relative athletic score. And of course, there's a few guys I mentioned in the tweet that did not have a relative athletic score. Landon Dickerson was rehabbing an injury at the combine, and Kobe Dean was as well. Jalen Carter obviously left the combine early. And there's a couple other guys, but by and large, every draft pick since Howie took back over in 2016 is on there. And so thought it was just kind of interesting to see. I'm kind of an RAS score. I don't know why we say RAS score, because RAS is relative athletic score. That's like the ATM machine, but the RAS score, I love it. I've been using it for years. It's great stuff. So go check that out. And you can check out my graph with the Eagles draft history. It's on Twitter.
It was pretty telling that the 4 draft picks that were in the first and second round that he selected that had a below 7 relative athletic score, Reagor, Barnett, Sidney Jones, and Whiteside, were basically all 4 disappointments. Right. I think that's really telling, because a lot of people don't even pay attention to that score that frequently, but it tends to play pretty big in the NFL.
Yeah, it's hard to overcome.
I don't know how Sidney Jones had a relative athletic score.
Neither do I.
Because he was coming off the Achilles injury, but he did have one. So I'm not sure how they got that. Because I don't think he ran a pro day or anything.
Wait, when did he get hurt though? Was it?
No, it was at his pro day. It was at his pro day. So he had already run the combine.
He did the combine. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, for me, please make sure you give me a follow on X right here, Philly Sports PSA. Also today, weirdly, is my thank you, Shane. I appreciate. Oh, your finger's gone. Oh, there it is. Today is oddly an anniversary of mine. Today is 15 years since I did my first podcast.
That's crazy.
15 years. Yeah, it's been quite a while, and I'm still terrible at this. So I appreciate the other 3 here for helping make me look a lot better than I do. So, but yeah,
I was playing high school basketball 15 years ago, Ryan.
Oh wow.
No, not really. I'm
I
a
was
little
gonna
older
say.
than that, but it's
Yeah, I
not
was gonna
far
say,
off.
wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Don't make me feel too old there. But yeah, listen, I want to thank everybody for chiming in through the chat. Please make sure if you guys are out there, please make sure that you send us a message, interact with us in any which way. We absolutely love it. It makes the show that much better. So we appreciate that. Everybody, please make sure you follow the three of these guys if you really want to learn more about the Eagles, the draft, and all of that great stuff. So, but that's going to be it for us tonight. We will see you guys next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, where we will be less than 24 hours till the official start of the NFL free agency. So yeah, please stay tuned for that, because I'm sure we'll have some juicy details about some of the pre-free agency.
We're going to be talking about how happy we are that we signed Xavier McKinney. That's what we're going to be discussing.
That'd be great. I would love it. Hopefully we get no Frank Gores,
I'm totally good with that. I'm totally good.
But all right, so for Dives, for David, for Shane, I am Ryan. We will see you guys next week for the Birds of the Roundtable. Go Birds.